I'm outside a couple of weeks ago raking leaves with my young son and my 2 dogs, and out of the corner of my eye, I spot the witnesses. Now I know it's the witnesses because at a very young age, growing up in the Jersey Shore suburbs, I've been trained how to spot the witnesses, and when I do see them, to run for cover. I never really understood this when I was younger, but I did it because I had to. And I did ask one day, Mom, why do we have to go inside every time we see these people and pretend like we're not home? And she said, because they're going to try to sell you things and talk to you. And I said, okay. Now subsequently, or ironically, both of us later became involved in sales. So I now have this appreciation for what they're doing, and looking at it from an adult standpoint, I have to say I'm intrigued. So this past summer, again, I was out in the yard doing some work, and I see the witnesses. They're usually walking around in a group through the suburbs, and they're dressed up, kind of oddly so. A trench coat, maybe some tights, 1 or 2 pieces of suiting material, heels. Frequently the members are wearing wigs. A briefcase is usually involved. So I see them and I stop what I'm doing and I invite conversation. And it was pleasant and harmless and friendly, and it ended with them inviting me to their local church. I thought that was the end of it. A few weeks after that conversation, I started to get Bible-y pamphlets placed in my front door. And they would come, I guess, every few weeks, knock on the door, cause this huge disruption because I have 2 dogs that go absolutely bananas. I would go to the door and there would be the pamphlet. So a few weeks ago when I saw them out and I said, hi, how are you? And they said, oh, good. How are you doing? We see you're working in the yard again. I said, yes. I'm wondering if you can take me off your list. And they said, oh, sure. We'd be happy to do that. It's just that we have a very important message and we have to make sure that everyone hears the message. It doesn't matter what religion you are. It's just very important that you hear the message. We even have a Jewish woman we talk to. And I thought to myself, good God, not Jewish. And I said, okay, I'm not interested though. Thank you. I appreciate the effort. And they said, okay, all right, sure. We'll take you off the list. And then they just sort of stood there by the fence, and I stood there by the fence, and they looked over at my son who was organizing a pile of sticks or leaves. And they said, oh, it's so wonderful that she enjoys yard work so much, because in the end, when we're all in the new world, all we'll be doing is gardening. And I looked up and I said, okay, have a good day. And then they slowly started to walk away down the street onto the next house. And my son looked up and he walked over to me and he looked over the fence and watched them walking away a little bit. And he looked back at me and he looked over the fence again and he said, Elmo?